Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is Brian.
That's Darryl.
And this episode 461, certified infamous TV shows of 2024.
Infamous.
I
don't even know why I did that.
I don't know, but I like it. You should do it every week now. That's your thing.
I can't do that. Sorry.
You have to. It's amazing. I was like that press secretary guy talking about the soldiers getting bitten in Poland. I was at half-mast. You know what I'm talking about? They say do that?
Yeah.
Like his face, he was like, well, aren't the Poles a cheeky bunch? Anyway. But yeah. All right. So since last we met, or last we recorded at least, Raw is on Netflix. The first episode was kind of like anticlimactic. The second episode, even though it was super short, was a banger. Pentel Ceromero showed up, wrestled Chad Gable. My girl Bailey was on there. I thought we were going to get some Tiffy time, to be honest.
I mean, you saw the sign that I sent you.
Yes.
Picture of the sign.
Yes. Kaiser does get Tiffy time, and Sheamus gets wanky time. It should have said Sheamus gets burger time as a throwback to Drew when he's like, "You're right though, it's not banger, it's burger after burger after burger." Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna talk about TV shows. But before we get into that, there is just some sad news to talk about. Friend of the show, if you're a longtime listener, you remember Aaron Dietrick, wrote from Roma Collectibles, both the comic book shows and Toy Seller, and also, he has it's still there, Roma Collectibles in Springfield, Ohio. So if you're listening this weekend, I think they're open on Saturday and Sunday. Check their Instagram for hours. But Aaron unfortunately lost his battle with cancer, and we are going to miss him greatly. If you are a longtime listener, you remember him and myself and Cousin Kenny when we did Family Matters More. Our pitch for the Fuller House treatment for Family Matters. So keep an eye out for that. I'm gonna re-release that this week. So it's just kind of back up at the top of the feed. And Aaron's family has a GoFundMe. Cancer's a horrible way to die. It's an expensive way to die. So check out the show notes. It's GoFundMe, support Aaron's family after cancer battle. They are just the best people. His brother Ryan, and his wife Sarah could really just use the help making sure that everything's set up and good to go, and that while they're grieving, they don't have to stress out about too much more than obviously losing one of my favorite people. So Aaron, we love you. We'll miss you. We're glad that you were a huge part of this. Thank you for letting us be a part of the Ohio Toy Show. And yeah, so we're gonna continue to honor you and do our best. Anyway, yeah. So Darryl, I know that's kind of a somber moment. It's kind of hard to move out of that, but let's talk about TV. So just like with the movies, we're gonna do two top 10, one honorable mention. We'll go back and forth. Since you're the away team, you get first dibs.
So I'm going to start off with one that I've heard about the books forever, and that's the Three Body Problem. It was done on Netflix. It was one of my favorite shows of the year. It actually was good enough where it made me read the entire trilogy of books. I didn't read that fourth book, which anyway, by the original author, the first three book, the three book trilogy of Three Body Problem. Really like the show. Now, it's a lot different than the books in certain ways, obviously. But what it did that the books, even reading after watching the show, the books never got me invested in any of the characters. The show did, and again, because it's a visual medium, the show did a good job of getting, at least for me, getting me invested in the characters. The mystery of what is going on, it it did a like, especially the whole the game thing. It did a good job displaying. I am very excited because book two has some of the best potential sci-fi things that you'll see, like space battles and such. I am very excited to see the second season, and I'm not sure if both seasons two and three are filming concurrently or what, but I really like the Three Body Problem, and I had it at an 8.5 out of 10. And you'll find, and as you all are listening to this, not just me, but Brian as well, our show ratings are going to be so much different from our movie ratings.
I went back through my show ratings, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 that are 9 plus out of my top 10.
I have 3.
Yeah.
And just think, we had 3 combined movies
Yeah.
that were 8 or better.
8.
3
nothing,
combined.
Nothing clear to 9. Nothing,
Yes, nothing.
In the movies. But to be fair, for me, a movie to be a 9 has to be like one of the greatest movies of all time, like Fight Club.
Well, it doesn't necessarily for me, but even that, think of, like, as much as I like the 2 movies I had 8.5.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the movies just, for the most part, were just not as good
No.
as the shows, which leads me to my second show. And it's one of my favorite genres. I know I've talked about throughout the years since 2020 when it came out. Ghost of Tsushima is one of the best video games of all time, like bar none. And it takes place in Japan, and you play as a samurai. It's an amazing game. But Shogun, which was on Hulu, which is based on a book where we got a Shogun series back in 1980 with Richard Chamberlain as the foreigner, and I lose his name, but anyway, Shogun is one of the best shows. It might be the best show of the year for me, in the sense of you have just amazing acting, great writing, and the environment and cinematography you get, and the costume design. All of this stuff are put together to make just an incredible viewing experience. It's on Hulu. I gave it a 9.25 out of 10. Hiro Sonata is the main character, which a lot of us know from.
Oh, yeah.
He's that man in acting. He was in what, Avengers Endgame for a bit part. He was in he was in the Mortal Kombat
he was
movie.
in Infinity War.
No, he was in Endgame with Hawkeye.
Endgame?
He was the guy that Hawkeye killed.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
And he was also
the doctor with. Never mind. Forget it. Yeah.
But he's been in a lot of movies over the years. I love him as an actor, and he has that. What is that called?
Penultimate.
He has that gravitas to play
that's
warlord.
Right, the gravitas. That's
Shogun. Great show.
Do you like
one of
what I did
those
there?
I would. Yeah. Oh, I knew that. Yes, it's your favorite word.
It's such a good word. Anyway, go ahead.
You sound like Deadpool there. So those are my 2 out of my top 10. So now do a honorable mention.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'll start with, and again, as Brian mentioned, as we mentioned last week, these aren't in any particular order, like our top 10s nor our honorable mentions. So my first honorable mention is season 7 of My Hero Academia. And even though it's an 8.25, I gave it only an honorable mention because I technically didn't finish every episode. But if you've read manga, if anybody's read manga and watched anime, unlike Western adaptations of things, if you see something on the page, you're going to get what's on the page.
Yeah.
And where I'm at with My Hero Academia is incredible. It's coming to an end, and like the stakes are higher than they've ever been. The animation is great. The voice acting is good. And the action is, again, My Hero Academia. This is about superheroes. The action is as good as any you'll see in any animated feature. So that's why it's on my honorable mention. It's just because it's on Crunchyroll and Hulu. I could have put it in my top 10, but there's some other, live action shows and other animated shows that were just, even though I rated it an 8.25 out of 10, there were a couple other shows that I thought were a little bit better, and you'll see that, going forward. So I will hand it off to you for your first two.
All right. I'm actually going to start again. No, it's in no particular order, but I'm going to start at the bottom of my list. So for my top 10, my first one that's on that we're going to talk about is X-Men 97. It was literally a show that we made fun of the trailer. I think we both, in very Sith-like fashion, said, "I'm not watching this. This is stupid. Where's Rogue's butt?" And then I just couldn't help myself, and I messaged you, and I was like, I need the D+. I need the password. And I watched the first episode, and I messaged you immediately. This is fucking awesome. And it was. And all the way through. I mean, all 10 episodes are great. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. This is what I gave it earlier in the year. I didn't change my scores. But yeah, I mean, it was what Picard season 3 was to the next generation, like that's what they should have got as a send off. This was a great continuation of the 92 to 97 X-Men series. And they just got every character right. It was really, really cool. And, the name's Gambit. Remember it. Which I still think is better than, "Ooh, boy, I'm about to make a name for myself." So, yeah. All right, my next number 10 of my top 10 is Fallout on Prime. I gave that a 7.3 out of 10 when we reviewed it. I'm sticking by that. Fallout is my only experience with Fallout is the game on the iPhone, the Vault Builder game. And so I came into this one pretty much like a Fallout virgin. And so I think I really enjoyed it. I didn't have any of the game, the gameplay to make me really like wonder about what was going on. And the cool thing about it was, I love Walton Goggins, and I thought he was great. And Ellie, is that her name? The main actress, was fantastic. I thought she was a great lead. They did a really good job at making her flawed. I think the one way they showed it the most is when she lost her shoe for a while. In most things, they would have been like, "Oh, she killed that thing and took her shoe back." Yeah. Anyway, all right. So moving on to my honorable mentions. It's a show that's still on. So I know it's kind of hazy because I'll probably use it again in the 2025. But Dexter, Original Sin, currently airing on Showtime / Paramount Plus. Right now, if I had to rate it, I'd give it a 7.75 out of 10. The kid playing the young version of Dexter is spot on Michael C. Hall. He's got the mannerisms down. He's got that little smirk down. And he's
got the voice cadence down.
He does have the voice cadence down. But he's like that. He's the pre-Dexter, so he's just learning. And so all these like early kills that like we heard Dexter talk about, we're getting to see them. Plus, it's probably my favorite actor from being a kid. Christian Slater is playing Harry, which is really cool. And as much as Deb sucked in Dexter, Deb sucks even more in Dexter Original Sin.
I was waiting for a Gleaming the Cube reference.
I mean, I think when he's sleeping with Dexter's mom, he's definitely gleaming that cube. Ba-dum-bum. Oh, wait, hold on.
How dare you?
There we go.
So I will go with two you just mentioned,
Okay.
X-Men 97 and Fallout. They're both in my top 10. Just adding to the X-Men 97 thing, again, we are really jaded, and for rightfully so, with adaptations we get, whether it be Star Wars, whether it be, potentially a rumored Professor Snape in the new Harry Potter TV show that's coming out,
Oh, that's happening.
not being Snape.
It's 100% happening.
So we have been jaded, and it's rightfully so. I did not expect this show to work one bit.
See if they had any balls for the Harry Potter thing real quick. They'd have made Sirius black. Think about it.
Well, if they what happens if they make Hermione black and they call her Mudblood?
That's just something they're going to have to deal with. Anyway. Sorry,
So
I digress.
X-Men 97, I did not expect it to work. After what, 2 or 3 episodes, and not even 2 or 3 episodes, after the first week, we were like, okay, Bo DeMeo, we're sorry. We're sorry.
When he
and then we just kept
Cyclops, like, using the optic blast to, like, zoom around the warehouse in that opening fight, I was all in.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that was my favorite part of that episode, and how he landed.
No, the greatest superhero landing of all time was my favorite part of that episode. But yeah, Bill, we're still sorry, man.
Now, with him off of season 2 and hearing how they rewrote season 2,
all bets are off.
I'm very, very concerned. But for this one, 9 out of 10, amazing, because again, got the characters right. They paid homage to what came before. That it was focused on one thing, that was storytelling. The action was great. There were so many one-liners and scenes, like you said, names Gambit, remember, just so much stuff throughout. Animation was spectacular. And again, it took me a minute to get into the voice acting, and it might have been because I know the second half of the season was far better. And that, like you said, I think you said it even at the time, it just could be them trying to get back in, because I think a lot of these people were the original voice actors. I don't know if all
their
of them were.
voices are just older, and it's kind of hard to sound like 1997.
So, and that goes with the second one too. Another show that I did not expect to work, which was Fallout, again on Prime. I've played Fallout 3, Fallout 4, love those games, and again, this was the thing where I thought they were going to screw it up, but it wasn't because of the characters from the game. Fallout is a game, the main character of Fallout is the environment. And that's where they did such a brilliant job creating this environment. And like you said, with Ella, they made a flawed character. Again, she wasn't a Mary Sue. I know some people, when they see a female lead, and again, some of the people even that we generally like, I saw them say this about her. Not everybody, but a couple people here and there. And it's like, it's just not true. She was a very good character. Like you said, Walter Goggins was great. I'm looking forward to what we get in season 2. I have no idea if it's supposed to come out this year, next year, or 2026. But Fallout for me was 8.25 out of 10. Just a very good show, very solid show, very well done, and it was something I did not expect.
Yeah.
So my honorable mention. What were you saying?
Oh no, yeah, I just didn't expect it to like Fallout as much as I did, and look forward to it each week like that.
Yeah, me neither. So my second honorable mention is one of those shows I knew nothing about, and then it pops up on Netflix, and I'm like, oh, what's this? I watched the trailer. I was like, let me check it out. After the first episode, I'm like, okay, I'm in. And that's Supacell. It is, I believe the writer is a rapper or something along those lines. I'd never heard of him because, again, this is a British show. So this guy's from the UK, so I don't know anything about him. Even when I read his name, I was like, I've never heard of it. But it's about these individuals, and it's these are all black individuals, on its face, it's like, okay, is it going to be one of those shows for this time? But it makes sense why, because again, Supacell is, which again, not the greatest name in the world.
And
is
it's
about,
Supacell with an A, not a hard R.
yes. So these individuals who have the sickle cell trait are able to, almost like, thinking about the mutant gene in X-Men, to develop powers. And we get, as the show goes on, we have like little vignettes of each episode of these main characters who come together at the end, but we don't get to see, the end result. We see the end result early because of a little bit of time travel, which again, time travel can sometimes suck. But Supercell itself, it was just for me, it was a very well done show. Not quite up to the level of some of the other ones. I have it as 7.25 out of 10, but still, it's one of those shows I did not see coming, in the sense of I didn't hear anything about it till literally the weekend I started watching it.
Yeah.
So it was one of those that, every now it was like Stranger Things, but not as good. Like Stranger Things I never heard of Stranger Things until
Right.
the weekend it dropped. I saw it. I was like, oh, what is this? Let me check it out. Oh, hell. Watch four episodes. And it's like 2:00 in the morning with Stranger Things. But Supercell is one of those. It's some good action, good storytelling. I'm looking forward to seeing what we get next with it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I just kind of forgot that it was on this year, to be honest. I liked it. It was fine. The effects were cool. The powers were kind of cool. The way they kind of did little takes on all the powers and them learning. It's also good to see just a nice origin story for something we don't know about. It's not based on anything. Is it?
Nowadays, and the thing is, nowadays we never get something that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Like I said, Stranger Things was one of the biggest surprises I've seen in this, era of having internet and everything being spoiled. I mean, that was such a surprise because it was like out of the blue. This was similar in the sense of one night, I think it came, whenever it came out, I was like, what is this?
Right.
Turned it on. I watched the trailer. Don't get me wrong. I watched the trailer. I was like, oh, this might be interesting. With Stranger Things, I don't even know if I watched the trailer. I just saw it was on, and I was just like, let me turn on 10:00 at night.
Right.
Let me watch this episode, or whenever it came out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, all right, cool. My turn.
Your turns.
My turns. All right. So for my top 10, I am going with The Gentleman from Netflix. I gave this one a 7.15 out of 10 because it kind of dragged in the middle. It was great at the beginning, mainly because Guy Ritchie directed the first 2 episodes. And then it dragged, and then we got David Caffrey directing episodes 7 and 8. And it was just really good the way they finished it out. If you're not familiar, this falls in the universe of The Gentleman, the Guy Ritchie 2019 film. It stars Theo James, who I think is a really good actor. I think he's probably most known for, was he in the Divergent movies? Is that what it was? Yeah, Divergent.
Yes.
He played Tobias, or 4, I guess as the case was. Even though there was an I am number 4. He was also the voice of Bastion in X-Men 97. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, it's really cool because Eddie, basically he's the second son and he inherits his father's huge estate, only to discover that there's a giant marijuana farm underneath the estate that his dad, basically, that's how his dad kept the estate running. He has an idiot brother, Freddie, who is just cocaine addled and an idiot, which makes for high comedy. And it's got, oh God, I cannot ever say her name. Kaya Scoladario, I guess is how you say it. She was the female lead. She was Tressa in Maze Runner. So
Oh, that's where I know her
yeah.
from. Okay.
Anyway, so it's funny. They had like a guy from the Maze, or a guy from Divergent, girl from the Maze Runner. They were the popular YA movies at the same time. It also has Vinnie Jones, which I always love seeing Vinnie Jones in anything. So, so yeah. So that being said, it starts great. It kind of, it's only 8 episodes, so like it starts great. It kind of loses its way a little bit, trying to find its way a little bit, and then it just like brings it all together and ends really, really strong. It looks nice. If you like Guy Ritchie, it's that Guy Ritchie dialogue. It's that snappy, comeback. Like, it's just, it's really good. And I love Guy Ritchie. He's a favorite director of mine. So, there's that, but yeah, I mean, right there, The Gentleman. Definitely watch it on Netflix. All right, my next top 10 is House of the Dragon on Max. This is my lowest rated, I think, of everything that's in here. Oh, no, second lowest. I gave it a 6.78. It's in my top 10 because I adore this show. I think they did such a good job fixing some of the flaws that we saw with the first season. And to be honest, there's a scene where Matt Smith. The other thing is this has made me actually like something that Matt Smith was in. Actually Matt Smith, Damon might be my favorite character. But he's talking to this guy sitting in a field and he's like, I'm the king. And the guy goes, consort. And he says, well, why do you got to say that? And it's just like this beautifully innocent scene in this season of just bloodshed and fighting and just political, like the blacks versus the greens. And it's just, I don't know. I liked it. It fixed the things that I had the issues with Alicent from the first season, and Rhaenyra. And, we got to finally see dragons fighting dragons. So there's that.
It's funny because my review, I gave it a 7 something or 7.
Yeah, you give it a higher score.
And it didn't make my list, but it was one of those. I thought it was good as well. I enjoyed it. Again, they still, they fix some of the issues from the first one, but they caused other issues for themselves for the future seasons by some of the decisions they made as well.
Yeah.
But yes, dragons fighting dragons. I mean,
yeah.
Who doesn't like that?
Who doesn't like that? All right. My honorable mention is Shogun. While I did enjoy Shogun a lot, I did not love it like Darryl did. Feudal Japan is not one of my favorite times of history, even though I do enjoy samurai and their swords. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot more I can add to it. I actually gave it an 8 out of 10 because it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully shot. It's actually beautifully paced. And the girl that was in Godzilla, what was her name?
Sawa. What is it?
Yeah.
Anasawa,
thank you. As much as I disliked her in the Gods and Monsters Godzilla show, I loved her in this. I thought she was like she was so great as her character. You loved her. You were heartbroken when she sacrificed herself, and it was good story. It was great storytelling. I'm not gonna downplay that. But like for me, it was just something like I didn't watch it every week. I would let them kind of like pick up and then be like, okay, I'd watch it over the course of I'd like wait for like 3 of them to catch up, and then I'd watch it over the course of a couple days. And it wasn't ever anything I really clamored to watch.
So I find it funny though that the Foreigner was probably my least favorite character of the main characters.
Yeah.
Although, and again, this goes back to storytelling and Ghost of Tsushima too, because because I just recently replayed that game, and so few shows or movies do a good job of showing cultures clashing and giving you a perspective from both cultures, or not both cultures, but both cultures in Shogun. But in Ghost of Tsushima, it was more of way of thinking. The samurai way of thinking is all about honor. You don't sneak up on somebody, even if you're outnumbered 3-1, and kill somebody when they're not looking. That's not honorable. And having the main character having to do that. Shogun did such a great job of that. And I mentioned that when we reviewed it, where just seeing it from two different perspectives, how the foreigner, and I'm calling him that because I don't recall his name in the show.
It was like West something or Black something.
Yeah. Yeah. How he would look at the Japanese and what some of they would do as barbaric, and then they would look at him for something totally different as barbaric, and just navigating that, and then navigating the language barrier as well, which I thought was great. I thought that was a lot of fun, having them speaking Japanese and him, I think he was, Portuguese or whatever.
Blackthorn. He was English.
Blackthorn.
Yeah,
Blackthorn. Yeah.
Was he Portuguese?
Or
he was a Protestant Englishman who served on a Dutch fleet. So he was fighting. But the Portugal. He was fighting.
Yeah, he was fighting.
He wanted to kill all the Portuguese.
Yeah. So I might handing it back off to me. I will start off with an Apple TV show that this is probably one of your favorite ones, and I really enjoyed this too, and that's Masters of the Air. It has the new It guy who, and again, for rightfully so, Austin Butler, who again, he's 2024 for him was very good. He was in Dune. He played Fayed Rao in Dune. He played the main character in the Bike Riders, and then he was in it. And Elvis. Masters of the Air, it's based on a book, right? Oh, he's Elvis, but that was
in the Baz
2 years ago,
or
a
couple years ago, yeah.
Okay.
And he popped up in some other TV show that we were watching.
Yeah. I find it hilarious. He was in that horrible Shannara series that was on Netflix, or not Netflix, but it was on MTV a few years back. That's the first time I'd ever seen him on that show. But anyway, Masters of the Air, tells the story of the B bombers in World War II, and just the life of these pilots and these flight crews, and the things that happened, and whether they get shot down, like everybody dies, or they're able to bail out and become prisoners of war and then escape. This was a fascinating show. I am more partial to medieval, whether it be something like Game of Thrones or Shogun that takes place in, I don't know if it's the Edo period or after, or Swords and Sandals. That's my jam usually. But this as a World War II piece was fascinating. Again, with all of these shows, it's the same. It's almost the same formula. Great acting, great script writing, direction, the effects, the drama, and not in the sense of drama as in action and what is happening to these characters, because this was a show you weren't sure which character was going to live or who were going to die, because there were a couple that I thought we were going to get more of, and we did not.
Right.
So Masters of the Air is on Apple TV, 8.5 out of 10. If you like World War II stuff, you have to see this. If you just like good shows, good action, good acting, and just a great time, this is another show to watch. And I will go from there to I'm finding that there are several shows on this list that I was not expecting to be as good as they were. And The Penguin was another one of those shows. I thought The Batman was a fine movie. I know I liked it more than you did. I never thought nothing about it was great, but even Colin Farrell, I thought the makeup for Colin Farrell was great in the movie. We didn't get enough of him to know how good he was.
Right.
I watched the first episode of this because I was hooked immediately. And you knew, and again, this is a show that understand that he is the protagonist, but he is not a hero. He is a scumbag. He is a bad guy, and you know that. but you don't really know that until we get to the end of the end of the series. And in between that, you have some of the best, just some of the best writing and show running and character arcs from him to Sophia to what was his name? Vic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything just comes together in this show. It's why I gave it a 9.25 out of 10. Again, like I said, I had no interest in this show when it was first announced until I watched the first episode. It's whether you like the Batman, whether you like superhero shows, because this is not a superhero show. This plays out more like a show like you would see back in like The Sopranos or something, because this is a gangster show. This is about bad guys doing bad things and trying to one up each other. It's not about them trying to run from Batman or any superheroes or any cop. It's more about them trying to one up each other for control of Gotham City. Great show. Can't recommend it anymore. So my third honorable mention, again, this is another show that I don't know anything about. It's based on a book series by Blake Crouch called book.
Oh, what did you rate?
Called Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Oh, the Penguin 9.25 out of 10. Okay. So Dark Matter, another Apple TV show like Masters of the Air. Mm-hmm. Stars Joel Edgerton and is it Alice Braga? Is that Sonia Braga's niece or daughter or something like that? But it's a guy who gets kidnapped by a parallel version of himself, and he has his life stolen. And the story is about him trying to get back to his family. It's again, this is not one of those things that I knew anything about. I've heard of Blake Crouch, the writer. I never read his books. Didn't read this book, but Edgerton does a great job playing different versions of himself that you believe. And it's about that parallel life where the parallel worlds or the multiverse where one of your decisions branches you out into a completely different life. And, sometimes you look back and say, what if I had made this choice? Well, that's what one of the versions of his character does. And it makes for some crazy scenarios that surprisingly I believe we're going to get a second season of it, and I'm very excited. I'm really hoping to see more of this multiverse that they showed in parts, and I actually liked that they didn't give us a ton of it in season 1. But Dark Matter, I gave it an 8 out of 10. A very solid sci-fi show that the way that with multiverses work and the way that's explained and some of the science in it, it can be a little bit confusing and people can get lost in it, but it's one of those shows you absolutely have to pay attention to. It's not something you want to watch while you're doing something around the house because you're going to miss stuff.
Right.
So that's one of my honorable mentions. Dark Matter, Apple TV.
Cool. All right. Since you did the two you did, so I also had The Penguin, which I gave a 9.1 out of 10. And I also had Masters of the Air, which I gave an 8.25 out of 10. The Penguin, I mean, what can we say about The Penguin that hasn't already been said? Lauren LaFranc did a crazy good job making this show just tick and be awesome. And I love the fact that they're sticking with just the one season. It's just great to see that. Vic is a great character. He's new. He's not a comic book character. Kristen Melody as Sophia or the Hangman. Watching her descent into madness was one of the coolest things. Because she was a little mad already, like crazy mad. Having gone to Arkham for a crime she didn't commit, and then the whole revenge plot on Oz. As Oz is getting his revenge on the Falcones was fantastic. And it's a beautifully shot show, beautifully written, beautifully acted. And Colin Farrell definitely, even though we don't really care about award shows, should win every possible award that's out there. All right, then, yeah, Masters of the Air. So it's the World War II chronicle of the 8th Air Force Division. It's also known as the Mighty Eighth, and oh god, it's the something hundred. Anyway, it's so there's Band of Brothers, there's the Pacific. Those were both on HBO, and then there's this one. This is more the Pacific than it is Band of Brothers. If you're looking for some kind of a combination there, because Band of Brothers was just that one group that you followed throughout the entire thing. Whereas just like with the Pacific, the Air Group, they were bringing in fresh meat as quickly as they could roll it out of boot camp. Not just troops, not just pilots, but planes as well. And it was really cool. I really liked the history of the planes, especially the way with the targeting systems, because the U.S. had a proprietary targeting system for dropping these bombs. And the U.S. flew during the day, where the British flew during the night. So the British did a lot more damage, but the U.S. did a lot more surgical strikes. And when the planes went down, they would destroy that bombing system, which was really cool to see. And yeah, I mean, it had Austin Butler. He was great. But it also had, oh shoot, what's that kid's name? He was in that awful, like, rich kid goes to the family's estate and like worms his way in. But anyway, hold on, let me look it up. Oh, Barry Keoghan. He was awesome. I really liked Barry Keoghan in this. And then Callum Turner. Callum Turner was really, really good in this as well. But this was another one of these, like, Apple like puts a lot of money into the production of the shows, and it shows, like, no pun intended. It really does show that they care about these shows, and they like putting the money into it. I gave it an 8.25 out of 10. I felt like, again, there was just a little bit of like just storytelling lag in the middle, but at the end of the day, fantastic show. If you were a fan of war films, if you're fan of war shows, if you're a fan of World War II, this is definitely for you. Then my honorable mention is Invincible season 2. It finally felt like Invincible. And I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. It got a little closer to Mark being Mark. They did way less with Amber, which was great. Hopefully she's phased out now. And they gave Mark his story back. So, I mean, I really don't have a lot more to add other than it was great what they did with Alan. You know, they kind of jetpacked a little bit of it, obviously, just because they did 8 episodes. And I actually did take points off because they split the season into 2 for some unknown reason. But they're not doing that again with season 3, which comes out in February.
It's great. Great to hear that they're not splitting it up like that.
Nope.
That was annoying.
Yeah, super annoying.
So I'll start with my honorable mention because Invincible season 2 was one of my honorable mention. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Everything you said, Brian, is the reason I liked it more than season 1. Again, it's still the good animation, still the good action. Goes overboard a little bit with the gratuitous violence sometimes, but the most important thing, like you said, is Mark felt like Mark. Mm-hmm. And that was what we did not get from season 1. And the fact that we got less of Amber was so necessary.
It was just chef's kiss.
And then, like you said, and again, there are certain storylines that obviously, when you're adapting something as robust as a 144 issue show like this, you're gonna skip over. There are certain things that they did in season 1 that affected this season's characters.
Yeah.
But I still, even with those flubs that they did, I think they did do a good job kind of righting the ship. And it's not just Amber I'm talking about. They did the best they can. Again, it's similar to when we talked about Dune Part 1 and Part 2. Mm-hmm. As much as I did like Part 2 a lot better than 1, but Part 2 was affected by what they did in Part 1. And it's the same thing with the House of the Dragon too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going with that, season 3 is absolutely going to be affected by the choices they made, differing from the story, the true story,
the book
that George R. R. Martin did. But overall, Invincible season 2 a much better showing than season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Going to my other, and now I'll go to the 2 of the shows on my top 10. One that I know Brian has no idea about, and one that you have on your list as was it honorable mention, I think?
Yeah.
So Solo Leveling, it's a manhwa, and if you're being technical, Brian, where technically
Did you say
Avatar
Mamala?
is manhwa.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
explain. Like, if you want to get all technical, that yes, technically Avatar is not a manga because it's not made in Japan and all this stuff.
Well, and it was a
This is a
cartoon
manhwa, and
before
manhwa
before it was ever
and manhwa versus manga. Manhwa is the Korean term for basically the manga. So that's all. I did not know that until I started reading this. So I don't think I'm Solo Leveling. Basically, the idea is these gates open up, just like if you go in video games, you go to a boss's dungeon all over the world, and people were deemed as hunters. Mm-hmm. And this was something that was intrinsic in you. There's nothing you could do. So if you were a D-ranked hunter, you were D-ranked. You pretty much suck. If you're an S rank, you're the best of the best. And our main character, the first chapter of the first chapter of the book and the first chapter of this story is he's the weakest hunter in the world, but something happens where he's able to level up, and it's called like a second awakening. And it's with him, and his name is Jin, and he's working through getting stronger and stronger to, because he can, and also, because he wants, to help his family. His mom is in this, what they call a forever sleep, mm-hmm. that nobody wakes up from. So he's trying to find a way into this world to get a solution to, healing her. And again, this is with manga or anime in general, it's a lot of it is about the action, and this show has some great action sequences. It's one, because the book itself, I'll say, there's a lot of particle type effects and drawing effects of things moving that can't tell the story like you can when you're in live action, or not even live action, but in animated. So this, I gave this an 8 out of 10. It's only on Crunchyroll, so that's like one of those kind of, really specific, apps or whatever you want to call it. It's not on Hulu like a lot of these anime are on Hulu. This is not, but this is such a fun read. There's 2 more books to come out, 2 more volumes to come out, because this is one of those that is actually completed. It's not one of those that go on forever, but this is actually completed. So season 2 actually just started last week, so I'm going to wait probably a few more weeks before delving back into Crunchyroll and getting caught up on that. Now after that, Dune or Cobra Kai season 6 part 1. Now I'm not sure if you just kind of rank Cobra Kai as parts 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, I just did, like, because they all came out in 25, okay. So, or 24. So season 1 or season 6 part 1 I have is 8.25 out of 10. If I would have put them together, that definitely would have dropped, because part 2 for me wasn't as good as part 1. I'm so glad we're back into this world. I'm also sad because this is the end. We get part 3, I think, next month. I think this month. Yeah, next month, February.
I will say that when I first heard that they were splitting it up into 3 parts, I was kind of annoyed. But now that they've done it, and now that we're through the first 2 parts, I'm glad that they do, because we have something to look forward to.
Right.
This is a show that should not work. This is a show that I was kicking and screaming into. Somebody kept trying to bully and push me to watch it.
What?
And I'm like, dude,
I did no
this
such
is
thing.
not going. This is not going to work. I don't think I said that, but I never thought this would work.
All I did was lightly suggest that you should watch it
over
multiple times
and over and over again. And I'm thankful for that, because I finally just said, all right, whatever, I'm going to watch this. And it worked. And season 6, you have these the kids preparing to get to the was it the Taikai Saikai or Saikai Taikai
The
Kai
Sakai
Taikai?
Taikai.
Yeah. So preparing, they're preparing to get there, and we have to, because again, there's only a certain amount of people, so the whole this whole Miyagi dojo is not going, and we also get introduced to some very interesting characters outside of Miyagi Do. You still have the whole Kreese thing, trying to get revenge on Daniel, but overall, this show is just again, it's one of those that if you think about it, you're like, how does this show work? I don't know. It just does. It just works. I would recommend this show to anybody because again, you have 30-minute episodes max. It's a show that just makes me smile
had
when
a
I watch it.
43-minute episode.
Yeah, we did. We actually did. Yeah. Especially, but the first several seasons, most of the episodes are between that 25 and 30-minute mark. But yeah, we did have a longer episode in this season. Again, I can't recommend this enough for if you're just wanting to have a lot of fun, because again, this is not Shogun. This is not some of the other shows we talk about where it's just fantastic script writing and acting, and it's none of that. But the show works. And again, William Zabka is the primary reason it works for me, because he's just incredible. And we have some of the kids that are great as well. I mean, we do have the villain that is Ralph Macchio, aka Daniel,
or as Barney Stinson would say on How I Met Your Mother, Ralph Macchio.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Cobra Kai in general.
Yeah,
season 6 part 1 was really good for me. Part 2 for me, still good, not as good, and I'm looking for 2025. I'm hoping that part 3 brings, I hope part 3 goes out on a high note, so when we do the list for 2025, it's on that list.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm just going to continue with Cobra Kai. I give it an 8.17 out of 10 for just everything so far. As much as I loved this show, everything on my top 10 I actually loved more, even like though House of the Dragon had a lower score.
That makes sense.
Do I?
I said that makes sense, even though, I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, everybody won't, they're like, what? But so I get it.
Because this is not based on score. It's just like, I loved this season of House of the Dragon, even though it was not a masterpiece. But this season of Cobra Kai, they did a, I agree with you about part 2. And I know I argued this fact that I thought part 2 was better. But after watching them, part 1 and part 2 as a whole, after it ended, it's it's a little much. A lot of the character development that went into the first part of the 3-part season kind of got thrown out the window, even though we got some really cool like new characters like the tall kid and the ninja girl and that kind of stuff, and like the fact that there's an Irish karate team out there who come out to the Dropkick Murphys. Cool, I'm here for it. But they even had the plot armor guy from Mortal Kombat, whose power literally is plot armor. And it was great, but like they had a whole episode that derailed with Ralph Macchio. And even in the first part, they had a bunch of stuff that Ralph Macchio just derailed. And it's like, it's not about you, dude. The show's not called Miyagi-Do. It's called Cobra Kai. And so I really hope that with what happened with Cobra Kai, that maybe Johnny gets to reclaim it. And I know I saw some like like not spoilers, but some like, hey, this could happen. And I really like this one idea that Johnny reclaims Cobra Kai and Miguel becomes the captain. And Miguel Diaz is the one true Karate Kid, and he's taken a back seat for far too long. So in these last 5 or 6 episodes, Miguel better kick all sorts of ass or I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So, all right. So my next one, Superman and Lois, 9.25 out of 10. This is my favorite adaptation of Superman in live action outside of the Christopher Reeve movies. And it is a different version of Superman. He's a dad. He's a nerd. He's Clark Kent nerd dad. This has been the best relationship between Lois and Clark, where they're partners and equals, and they don't do anything to take away from each other. So you don't have to like lower one to raise the other. They raise each other up like a good couple should, like good partners should, like good husband and wife should. They do a really good job of putting, like, I'm a firm believer is like you should put your wife above your kids or your husband above your kids, because your kids leave, and over time you could be living with a stranger because you didn't put effort into that relationship. And it's amazing how they put effort into their relationship. They have their ups and downs, but they put effort into it, and I loved it. This final season, we got the first comic book accurate version of Doomsday ever in all the iterations of live action. So that was awesome. Let me rephrase this. I loved the concept of this version of Lex Luthor. I did not love the execution, and it had nothing to do with Michael Cudlitz, who I thought was fantastic. It was just he was poorly written. And Michael Cudlitz like took chicken shit and threw that chicken shit, like just mucked it out of the stall and got some eggs and made an omelet. So, yeah. In you know, we got a bunch of really cool, like just iconic Superman moments, even throughout the whole show. But in this one, when he punches the super suit off of Lex, and he punches just hard enough to destroy the suit, I love that kind of stuff. I did not like the depowering angle. I don't care for that when they do that. But we wouldn't have got that second half of the finale without it, so I'll forgive it. All right. My next one, and this is cheating because it was only 2 episodes apparently for 2024, but Reacher. I will say, of the 2 episodes, I loved the finale of Reacher. I've probably watched just the finale of 2 or 3 times. It was really cool to see Reacher working with the team. It was really cool to see Reacher just being Reacher, but like with backup and all that stuff, not just Neely. And I'm really looking forward to season 3 of Reacher. So, and I gave Reacher an 8.3 out of 10. All right, D, you're up with your last 2.
So I will finish with one that I somehow didn't put on the list, even though we had talked about it for weeks, until I saw yours when I was making the list, and that's Dune Prophecy. And part of it's because I literally just finished the finale yesterday, even though it's been out for 2 weeks. This was one of those that I wasn't sure about because I didn't know the history of what or the original source material from where this was coming from. So I wasn't sure how I was going to take to this. But like every show on our top 10, or pretty much every show on our top 10, phenomenal acting, great script, and just the characters, they feel 3-dimensional. Too often in shows, even good shows, you'll have a character that, and I don't mean one-note characters, I mean characters that are better, more than one note, but are still not quite that 3-dimensional. You see their flaws, out in the open, and that's what Dune Prophecy does. Mm-hmm. And I originally thought, and I believe it was initially kind of pitched to us as a limited series. Mm-hmm. We're getting the 2nd season, and thankfully we are, because if we would have just gotten what we got and there was no season 2 on the books, I probably wouldn't have given it an 8.5 out of 10 because the story is not finished. And it's not even finished for this season. Like there's a lot of strands that need to be tied up, and we were wondering that I think in week 4. Like,
I
okay,
mean, we
this
were
is all
wondering
we're
it like
getting.
in week 2. We're like, wait a second, there's a lot of story
Yeah,
happening here.
if this is all we're getting, how are they going to finish this and wrap this up? So I am glad that this is getting an extra. I don't know if it's just one or two. I honestly don't know, but such a good show, such a good show. And again, the effects were great. This takes place 100 years after the Machine War, so we get some revenants of that time, but not a lot. We just dip our toe in a little bit. Who knows if we're going to get more in season 2? But this is a show. It's on Max again. Another great Max show. I mean, Max has done a great job with these shows.
Yeah.
And
It's not the Machine War, it's the Butlerian Jihad. Thank you.
But the second one, and this is technically on Max as well, but it started on CW. It's the last of the CW Arrowverse, but technically this is not Arrowverse, and that's Superman and Lois. I gave this final season a 9 out of 10, even though there were a lot of little things I didn't like, or I won't even say a lot of little things. There were a few little things to medium-sized things that I didn't like. I was not like you. I was not a fan of the depowering. You don't have to do that. They did have a fantastic second half of the series finale that played into that. Michael Kudlitz's Lex Luthor, I just did not vibe with the Lex Luthor. I thought he did a good job with what he was given. It's just the character itself just was not well done. And it's one of those, the more I think about it, the less I like the character. Not his performance, but the character itself, because that wasn't Lex Luthor. And I don't know if part of that was because they were initially set for 7 seasons, but for reasons that I would rather not discuss, they got 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And I'm at least glad that they were able to put some of this together and tie up, their story, finish their story, even if it was trunking.
Have very Cody Rhodes of them.
Yes. There were some great moments in this show.
Oh, yeah.
Like some great moments. And again, this is one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Clark Kent. I love Christopher Reeve. Yeah, I really like Dean Cain. I like Henry Cavill. This is my favorite Superman that we've seen in live action.
Absolutely.
The George Reeves stuff, I never actually watched that, but this is the Superman I didn't know I needed. Nerd Dad Clark is incredible. The fact that this is a drama where the drama is not cheaply done and you have adults communicating is great. It's one of the things that I've highlighted every time we've reviewed an episode, when there was a scene where it could have been long and drawn out because of drama, and they don't do that. Love it.
Right.
Absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm gonna miss this show. I really hope, for my anger's sake, that James Gunn knocks it out of the park with his Superman movie coming in July. Because if he doesn't, I don't want to be sitting in the movie theater saying, you canceled Superman and Lois for this.
Well, guess what? You're going to.
Or you had canceled. I really don't want that. I don't want that. I really don't want that. I just love this show. Yeah. And again, I'm in the middle of a rewatch already. I'm on season 2 right now. No, I'm on it because I took a break. So I'm on the last 2 episodes of season 1.
Nice.
But yes. And my final honorable mention, yes, it's another anime, and that's Demon Slayer. It's actually on Netflix, season 5. Again, Demon Slayer is one of those, there's some good character development, but it's some of the best action. Like even I would say even ahead of My Hero Academia, maybe because it's less superpowers and more. Well, I mean there are a lot of superpowers, but it's fantastic the action, and just for that, this show definitely is not for some because it can go overboard with the comedy aspects of, and that's just how manga and anime do. They all have comedy in it, like these type of shows, I should say, like the My Hero Academia, and the Demon Slayers. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, this is kind of like a lot of sword fighting, a lot of just brilliant action, and I'm always, not just these shows, but just animated shows in general. As much as I love action, live action, I also just applaud, those animated directors that put these scenes together, and it's just like all this stuff going on, and very fun show. I mean, it's another one of those shows I didn't expect to, I started watching a couple years ago when it popped up on Netflix. 5 seasons in, yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I gave season 5 a 7.75 out of 10.
Nice. All right. I'm going to finish off. I'm going to do my honorable mention first. So my honorable mention was Umbrella Academy season 4 on Netflix. I gave it a 6.7 out of 10. It's ridiculous. The whole season is ridiculous. And that says something for the Umbrella Academy. It's multiverse, it's time travel. There's stuff like all over the place. Character development falls off the rails a little bit here and there. It's got Nick Offerman and Megan Mullany in it as a couple, and they're great. But I will say this, and the reason that I put this on here is I do think if you watch the first 3 episodes or the first 3 seasons, you should watch it. Because it ends in the most Umbrella Academy fashion possible. And it's a satisfying ending to the show for something that's just this really weird off the wall superhero teen family drama thing. But yeah, it's just cool. And like the heroes, the Umbrella Academy, they don't have their powers at the beginning of the episode. And it's really fun watching them adjust to like everyday life in a world where like the Umbrella Academy never existed. So that's a lot of fun. All right. So for my final top 10, Dune Prophecy. This is the Brian Herbert Ken, I think it's Anderson is his name. It's the Schools trilogy. So there's the Mentat School, there's the Bene Gesserit School, and then there's the Doctor School. And like Darryl said, I when they showed the previews, I love the Bene Gesserit. I think the Bene Gesserit are really cool. I'm actually maybe a quarter of the way through Dune Heretic right now, with just kind of reread. And so the Bene Gesserit are awesome to me. They're this great like machinations, plans within plans. The sins of everybody comes back to haunt them, including the Bene Gesserit. But this is like Darryl said, 100 years after the Butlerian Jihad, where they got rid of all the thinking machines and made the mandate that there are no machines that are going to be made to think like a man. And one of the reasons for that is because there's limitations to memory, which is really funny because the Bene Gesserit with them, the human brain has no limitation. I loved the finale so much. If the show would have ended, I would have been fine. Actually, with the way the finale ended, I would have just wanted more, but we get more, and it's great. And I don't want to spoil too much. But at the end of the day, as much as I dislike Dune Part 1 and 2, Dune Prophecy feels very much in Frank Herbert's vision, very much in Frank Herbert's universe. And, I was right about, like, kind of right. Like, I feel like I was right about some of the things I predicted for the finale. The agony box is is just this disease that Travis Finnell's character had. It takes fear to fight it. You can't just overpower you. You have to face your fears. It was really cool when Valia, sorry, wrong show. Valia faced her fear and let it wash over her, with everything with her brother Griffin and that kind of thing. And we have the precursor to the litany against fear, which we'll definitely get at the beginning of the next season. And I'm glad it's coming back. Like I said, a 9.25, beautifully shot, beautifully acted, 6 episodes. I don't feel like there was an ounce of filler in it. I don't know if you agree with that, Darryl, or not, but I love the way they paced it, especially giving us another season.
Agreed.
All right. And then my last one, and I'm probably going to cheat and do the same thing I did with Reacher with this one too, like with Dexter. This is actually my favorite show that came out at the end of the year. It's Landman. It's a Taylor Sheridan show. And it is, it's all about the super complex world of the Texas oil industry. And this is a real job. There are these fixers out there called landmans. And they go out there and they secure the land where the oil is underneath. And, you know, the show opens with Billy Bob Thornton, who is the star of the show, working with the cartels to be like, yeah, we're going to buy this land from you. We're going to build roads. We're going to pay you and all this stuff. And then, you know, there's some new cartel member at this point, and he's all like, oh, well, you're not doing what we want you to do. Or you cost us these drugs because we stole your plane and one of our trucks ran in. You know, it's just like just things after this. Billy Bob is amazing in this. John Hamm is in the first season. He's really good. Demi Moore is in it, and she's literally unrecognizable. I don't know if you've watched any of it, Darryl.
I've not yet.
And it's like, whoa, wait, that's Demi Moore. So there's that. Ali Larter shows back up, which, like, I haven't seen Ali Larter in anything in like 10 years. And then if you remember Justified, there was Kendall Crowe in the fourth season. He was Michael Rappaport's nephew. Anyway, he's in the show. He's all grown up. He plays Cooper Norris, who is Billy Bob's son. He's my favorite character. But that being said, it's this great show. It's got this weird like Friday Night Lights vibe to it, mainly because of like where it is. The first episode has some pretty cool names, and I don't want to spoil anything in there. And then it's a really interesting show to watch. It's a great thing with like family dynamics and co-worker dynamics and the oil. There's a really Kayla Wallace plays an actor named Rebecca Falcone. I've never seen this woman in anything before. She's pretty great as far as like being this, you know, just ball busting lawyer girl lady. So yeah, she hasn't really done much of anything. She did 2 episodes of The Magicians. She did an episode of The Good Doctor. Other than that, it's been just kind of like stuff you've never heard of. But she is great. It's always fun to see like a new face show up and do something cool. So there's that. And again, it's a Taylor Sheridan thing. I'm pretty sure he writes every episode. I'm not sure how he keeps up the pace that he has, but yeah, it's worth watching. It's on Paramount Plus, so definitely check it out.
Interesting score you gave it.
9.26. It's my favorite show.
Oh,
of the year.
Oh, it says 9.261 on here.
9.26. Thank you for Thank you for calling out my error, Darryl.
No, I actually thought it was your score. I wasn't being silly. I wasn't being funny. I thought it was your score.
I don't want to get into like making the infinite numbers just go out and out. So we'll stop at two decimals.
The pi of scores.
Yes. So everything wound up just being 3.1472834. I don't even remember what pi is anymore. All right. So that is 2024 television. I mean, there were some cool ass shows. I think, TV was so much more interesting than movies this year, and 2025 looks like it's gonna, be the same thing, and I can't wait. Hopefully, the movies.
I was looking at my list. And again, like Gentlemen, that was one of those. I watched the first episode and a half and I never finished. It's something I did want to watch, and it's just, it's a lot easier to watch a 2-hour movie than it is to watch 7 hours of an episode of something, especially if something else pops up and you're like, you get into that. So there are a few other ones like Landman. I will watch that. I'm not going to put it on my 2025 just because 2 episodes in 2025, but I
was joking. It's not gonna be my two. I just had trouble figuring out 10 because I didn't keep track of what I watched.
Well, I kept track and I still left a couple off. So
true.
It happens. But this year was 2024 was a very good year as TV shows go. And it more than made up for the snooze fest that we had from a movie standpoint.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't have entertaining movies, but like from the quality standpoint, I mean, and I was wrong. I did have 4 shows in my top 10 that were 9 or better as well.
Yeah.
Like with you. So, it was just a great year, and I'm hoping we get the same this year as far as TV shows. And I really, really hope we get movies back to where we're like, oh man, this movie was great.
Yeah.
Starting with Captain America 4.
No.
And I guess you didn't hear me chuckle.
I did hear you chuckle, but like, don't even put that out there. So I mean, like, for movies, I mean, it starts with Den of Thieves 2, Wolfman, and then you've got, like, there's a bunch of stuff, but like, you have Happy Gilmore 2 coming out. You have Flight Risk coming out. Mickey 17 is like one of the movies I'm most looking forward to with Robert Pattinson. There's a Running Man remake, Megan 2.0, The Accountant 2, which I've been dying for. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. There's another Final Destination movie coming out. Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff, which looks really cool. July, we get Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman and Fantastic Four First Steps. Nobody has a sequel coming out. Nobody 2. Tron Ares comes out in October, just like Mortal Kombat 2. And we get Predator Bloodbath closing out the year.
So,
and there's some of the movies. There's obviously a lot more, but
And again, I'm looking for one I'm looking forward to most is The Gorge, and that's Amazon. That's an Apple TV show show with or movie with Miles Teller in it.
Yeah,
and it looks right up my alley. Comes out next month on Apple TV.
Yep,
cannot wait for that. But I'm really hoping a lot of those movies hit like the originals did, like when you're talking about a Nobody 2.
Yeah, hoping
that hits. Zootopia 2 comes out. I mean, there's Megan 2.0. That was, first Megan was a lot of fun, and we love movies. We love going to the movie theaters. We love watching movies.
I like going to the movies is like one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, just get back to where movies are good.
Yes. So, cool. All
that's
right.
all I had.
Yeah, me too.
Again, a lot. I know it's like I said, it's a lot to, when you're committing to a 90 to a 120 minute movie versus, 4 to 10 to 14 hours of a show. I mean,
right.
Some of these shows are well worth it. they're well worth your time. It's just, I know sometimes people have to, you have to make decisions, and yeah, you can only go by, what you like, but with shows, you have to take, okay, is this a subject matter that I'm interested in? And then go from there. If you have to, kind of parse out what you're going to watch, because all of these are well worth investing time in.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, on that note, thank you all for listening. We will see you next week. Have a great one. I'm going to AEW tomorrow. Going to the Royal Rumble later this summer, or this month. So my wrestling dance card is full. So there'll be we'll probably talk about that a little bit next week. All right, D. Any last words?
All right. Nope.
All right. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.
The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. You can find new episodes every Sunday on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, our website, or anywhere podcasts are downloaded. The show is hosted by Darryl Jasper and me, Brian Tudor. To find more information about the show, visit us at infamouspodcast.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Infamous Podcast to keep up with the show. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Infamous Podcast. We have some great rewards for our patrons and are looking for help to grow the show to bring you more of the content you want to hear. Music for this podcast is provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. So, whenever you're listening to us, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Later.